Well, um, this was my first time to use the Proquest research tool, and I spent so much time researching and chasing rabbit holes, and it was so fun, like a kid on Christmas being able to go through there. And I can't believe that I haven't come across this yet. One of the neat things about it is going through and finding dissertations and theses that have been written and turned into books from some of my favorite historians, and reading their earlier research. I've just really enjoyed that, and it's really kind of helped me focus in on some research as well. My focus, looking towards my dissertation, my focus is on the frontier of Texas prior to and during the Civil War, so the antebellum period. And one of the reasons that I've just kind of gotten to where I focus on that is because that's where I work. I'm inside a museum here at Fort Belknap, and this fort was established in 1851 to protect the settlers on the frontier. Well, we still have the fort is still here. We still have some buildings left. It's a historic site. It's open year round, every day, and it's got a very rich history. One of the problems is that there's no scholarly. There hasn't been any kind of scholarship published about the fort other than a few journal articles, and but there's not any books on. There are a couple of books that hit kind of around the fort. One of them focuses specifically on a person. Another one is more of an oral history book. It's got some good information in there, but the research is kind of sketchy on how it was put together. But there's not been a scholarly book published on Fort Belknap, and so that's kind of where I'm wanting to focus my research at. That being said, when it comes to the frontier of Texas during the Civil War, there's not a lot of history written there. In fact, there's only a handful of books that have been written about the frontier of Texas during the Civil War. Or during the 1850s. Most of your books during the 1850s, history books, focus really on manifest destiny and kind of what was going on right after the Mexican-American War. And they all kind of also talk about the sectional crisis that's going on leading up to the Civil War. And then, of course, once you get into the Civil War, all the books focus, American history books tend to focus on the American Civil War. Even when it comes to Texas, they talk about what Texas provided to the South during the Civil War. But there's only a handful of books that kind of cover the period that I'm talking about. So that makes research very it is not as easy to come by, but the research is there. That being said, being able to get into this Proquest, the dissertation and thesis research has really just kind of opened things up for me. And it's really also been kind of neat to notice what universities put out, what kind of scholarship. University of North Texas, there's 3 of them specifically that I was looking at that all kind of tend to deal with the same topic, the different parts of an idea, but it's all through the University of North Texas. I thought it was really interesting. But there's also I've been able to get into some scholarship that I didn't know existed, that focus on kind of tertiary history stuff that's in the peripheral view, not specifically about where I'm looking at, but all of that information adds to the story and gives a more informed idea, more informed scholarship to what I'm wanting to write about. So it's been really interesting to read through this, and like I said, I've spent hours just even just in a search bar, just typing in something and seeing what would pop up. And not only that, but then you also have the newspaper, the historical newspaper, which I've got a database that looks at newspapers. The Proquest database looks at different ones that I haven't been able to, that I knew existed, but I haven't been able to put my eyes on, and now I'm able to. So this really kind of excited me, and it really, I don't want to say I wasted time looking through this, but I did. I spent a lot of time just searching stuff that just to see if there was anything written about it. And so it's really kind of been a huge encouragement for me. But my focus again is going to be on Fort Belknap and just the history, overall history of Fort Belknap. And it's been so far what I've researched and what I've been able to put together. It comes from a chapter here and there of a book, and then looking at what they say, and then going back and looking at newspaper articles contemporary of the time. Of course, we've got the government records of everything that happened here during the fort. What is missing is what was going on during the fort during the Civil War. We don't have any Confederate records because the Confederacy didn't occupy the fort officially. It was occupied off and on by Confederate soldiers and by Texas Rangers. Of course, the Texas Ranger research is non-existent. They just kind of formed up when they needed to form up. So I really enjoyed being able to look through the Proquest database, and I look forward to doing a lot more research on my topic.